Hey everybody, welcome to the YouTube video series with UZ Marketing and our wonderful guests who are attending these videos. It's a pleasure for me to introduce Blake, who's with a Blue Jay Outdoor, the landscaping company. And basically what this series is meant for is to bring in people who have, whether they have experience or not experience running and maintaining a business, and having those experiences to share with other people, to especially other entrepreneurs who are looking to start a business or are looking to expand their business, or at least just get some information on some challenges that a business faces and learning how to overcome them. So I have Blake here on the line. He's with us, and I believe you're from Kentucky, right? You want to give us an introduction and who you are and your background?
I was born and raised in Eastern Kentucky. I moved to Richmond, Kentucky, which is Central Kentucky, to go to college. During that time, I joined the military and moved away. Spent some time up in Louisville and numerous other states. I was raised by a single mother who was a teacher. However, education was never my strong suit. I was always very self-educated, but always kind of struggled in school. So as far as the background, I think that plays a pretty significant role. I'm 23 years old. I have an older sister. My hobbies mainly include traveling, golf, and really anything outdoors. So,
Awesome. So you're 23 years old. How long you had your landscaping business?
so I started when I was 14. I started out just mowing grass and doing odd jobs for people that I knew were family friends. And before too long, it took off. Once I got old enough to drive, it was a lot easier to maintain that workflow. And I had some friends in high school that helped me out as well. And I credit my success to a lot of those people because of the hardships and we had no idea what we were doing. We were just trying to make a little money cutting grass like any other kid in the summer. But it's turned into a pretty successful business so far, and there's still a lot more ground to cover. So I'm pretty excited with that.
That's impressive, man. So you obviously you started off mowing grass. You said you were in high school and you got a bunch of friends together to make some extra cash on the side. But I think based on what we've talked about before, you've actually grown that to more than just mowing grass, right? You offer some other services too.
Yeah, so shortly after we started mowing grass, I realized I was actually allergic to grass. Wild story, I know. So at that point, I was too driven and too determined in the business aspect of this to give up. I was like, an allergy is nothing to. However, when I mow, you can definitely tell it makes me really sick. But I pushed through it, and now I'm fortunate enough to have some guys that mow, and I handle more landscape construction. Uh, but it all started mowing grass with some push mowers, and now we have backhoes, skid steers. We operate excavators. We have a very wide range of equipment, and we cover any project from mowing and general maintenance all the way up to building and construction, concrete, foundation work, drainage systems, grading, building ponds, clearing out ponds, retention areas, fencing, decks. I mean, you name it, if it's outside a home or commercial property, we definitely can probably take care of it or work with someone closely who does.
That's incredible. So you went from landscaping to, and sure enough, your shirt says outdoor solutions. So you cover the whole gamut of all types of services for residential customer. You even do commercial work.
Yeah, so it all started with residential, obviously. Commercial's a little bit more difficult to get into, and there's a pretty significant learning curve that a lot of people don't take into consideration. When it comes to any contracting business, I think commercial is where everyone wants to be, but there's a lot of stipulations that you really need to take into account for. A lot of commercial properties are on like 30, 60, or 90-day payment cycles. So if you can't afford to, go 60 to 90 days without getting paid for a project, then you're not going to make it in the commercial side of things. So it takes a while to build up to that point to where you can really bankroll your company for 6 months before you receive a paycheck. But once you get to that point, it's obviously a very successful moment, and it's very fortunate. So.
That's incredible. So you spent many years working on your business, building it to get to the point where you can afford 45 days, 90 days terms. So can you tell me a little bit about your customers, how you originally started getting customers and how you built customers and how they changed?
Yeah, so at first, I mean, back in the day, it was pretty much just anyone who knew me or knew my parents or knew my family. I would hit everybody up to work, and I wasn't opposed to doing anything. I would mow grass. I would do anything they needed done around the house. And what that led to is me getting a lot of experience. Pushing forward, obviously my customer base and my target market changed tremendously, especially moving away from my hometown. I didn't have that small town, everyone knows everyone type of marketing strategy that my hometown offers. And I was in a bigger city and I didn't know anyone. So I had to switch up my marketing game completely. The number one thing I took to being young is social media. And I think it's a very, now everyone's getting on the train, but I think even back in 2015, 2017, when it wasn't a big deal, I think a lot of people discredited it a little too much. So I think social media played a big role. Our target market definitely changed. We try to target people in houses above $200,000. A lot of new homeowners, new construction, and our housing market is technically like 3 years behind the growth of the city. So it allows a really good opportunity because of all the building, moving, reselling, and renovations that are constantly going on to try to meet the demand.
Interesting. So it seems like it's a very interesting path to get from where you were to where you are now. So based on your demographics, how would you say that your services, your business provides value to them? Maybe in ways that other people don't, or maybe just specifically how you provide value to your customers.
I think as a contracting industry, we all have a problem of if we can't do the job, we just simply say that we can't do that. Or a lot of people, they don't even say they can't do it. They just won't show up or they won't return the phone call. I'm a very straightforward person by nature. So if I know we're not the company for you, I'm not going to tell you otherwise. I'm not going to leave you out to dry. I'm going to tell you, hey, we aren't the company for this project. We aren't the best fit. Here's a list of recommendations of people I know and I've worked with, I think would be your best option. If you feel more comfortable letting them know I told you to call, that's perfectly fine. If not, no harm. Just let me know if I can help you with anything in the future. But I think this is the best option. I think that adds a lot of value to anyone. Um, and most people won't do that. I don't know if it's a sense of pride or what really gets in the way with a lot of people in that aspect, but I definitely think that's something everyone can work on is building up that referral base and having that network of people to refer is also something that takes a lot of time and energy to build.
That's a really good point. Like I've actually had that experience as a consumer and a customer in various areas where I would go into a shop or I would call up a business and I would ask for a service that I thought they may have provided. Sure enough, they don't provide that service, and my immediate question is almost 100% of the time, my immediate next question is, do you know anybody who can get that service? So as a customer, I'm like looking for a service, and at least it would make me happy as a customer if they can provide me that referral.
Right, and I think that's one way that we set ourselves apart. Also, being a landscaping company, most landscaping companies, they just mow grass or they just do landscape construction or they just do drainage or excavating. It's very rare that you find a company that combines all those into one. Now, don't get me wrong, that comes with its own set of challenges, obviously, for a lot of different reasons. However, I think we're super beneficial to any new construction or any new homeowners because they hire us on to mow the grass. We can take care of everything from mowing, landscaping, their concrete work, their drainage systems, their Christmas lights. If they decide to build a deck or a patio, setting up swing sets, building a playground. We've done all these things in the past for different HOAs and homeowners and commercial properties. So I think it plays a pretty big role having that diversity in the company.
Very cool. The fact that you offer all those services, like about our company, we're using marketing, and we do primarily printing, and even more specifically, we do a lot of yard sign printing. There's a lot of people who don't know we do all kinds of other printing too. So interestingly enough, it's very important for any business to kind of diversify and have a set of variation of things they offer. So it's neat to hear you saying that. Do you ever have an experience where you bring in a customer maybe for landscaping and they had no idea you did all those other services, and then they're like, oh, you do pressure washing too? I need that. Oh, you do construction too? I need that. Like, do you have those experience where you're bringing in a customer for one thing and they end up using a bunch of your services?
I mean, my thing with that experience, it's happened a lot this past year. And it really, I don't want to say it upsets me. I feel like there's a better term to use, but it kind of does because I feel like we dropped the ball on that. if our clients that we've been servicing on a weekly basis, mowing, for example, if they didn't know that we did landscaping, or they didn't know that we did fencing, or they didn't know that we did Christmas lights, or whatever it was, that's our fault. There's no one, you can't blame that on anyone else. So I feel like in any business, setting up like an email newsletter with monthly specials, or just staying in contact with your clients at least once a month. And because we have a lot of clients we really don't see or speak to, we go, we do our maintenance, whatever. They're happy, we're happy, perfect. And I understand people hire us for convenience. They don't want to sit and talk to us for hours, and I 100% agree. So I think that email newsletter, that marketing, that you send out postcards, whatever it is, I think that plays a pretty significant role. And I think a lot of companies definitely drop the ball there.
Yeah, I agree with you. Even we have that as a handicap. Like, people know us for the yard signs, but they don't know us for the business cards. They don't know us for the postcards. Interestingly enough, we do accept that responsibility too. It's our job to educate our customers. Any business, it's their job to educate the customers on all the various services they provide. So, interestingly enough, you may get a customer for one thing, but then there's also definitely ways that we can educate the end customer. Hey, we offer this too. Like, I spoke with a guy the other day who's also in the landscaping industry, and what he said was he sometimes puts on a door hanger. He has different specials or different services that he offers and drops it up on the door. So maybe the customer didn't know that there's a bunch of services they offer, but they see the door hanger and it's no commitment. They don't have to talk to anybody or anything like that. So there's that technique too. So there's a bunch of different ways, like you said, to get that word.
I mean, we have all of our services listed on Facebook and Instagram, and of course we post photos and everything. But something I've learned is a lot of our existing clients don't follow. I mean, they like our social media and they follow us and they leave us a review, but they don't keep up to date with it. We're mainly targeting new customers on those pages. So it's super, social media is super useful, but at the same time, there's no way to really know that client's seen that unless we tell them, we speak to them about it, or we leave something there so they can see it.
Yeah, for sure. So that's one of the challenges. Surely you face some other challenges in the business, getting customers or improving or making efficient. Can you share a little bit about some of the challenges you've experienced?
Yeah, well, I think any business owner in 2020 can say this was one of the most challenging and most, I don't want to say it's a year full of opportunities, but it kind of is. It's unfortunate, the circumstances of everything that's happening, and it definitely is extremely difficult. However, I can say our industry as a whole has benefited tremendously from the COVID just guidelines and procedures that they put in place. People were home more, and so they noticed all the problems that they've really neglected for the past few years because they work or they're gone. They couldn't go out to eat, so they started grilling outside. Well, they probably haven't noticed that their grill was, horrible, or that their patio wasn't good or whatever. So it made a huge increase in our business. However, the unemployment rate skyrocketed, which would lead you to think, okay, there's plenty of employees to go around. We can get all kinds of employees and accomplish a lot of stuff. It's the exact opposite. Although there was a lot of unemployed individuals, they weren't looking for a job by any means. And there's multiple things you could blame that on. I just personally, I think as an industry, we need to market more toward finding good talent and make the industry more, I don't want to say cool, maybe that's the wrong term, but I think that's the way to go about it. A lot of, people now our age, it's more about, do you enjoy where you work? What kind of benefits do you have? How many days off do you get? Like, our industry is dirty. It requires a lot of manual labor on most days, but we have a good time. There's a lot of benefits to it. And I think a lot of landscaping and construction companies take into TikTok and social media and YouTube and stuff. I think that plays a pretty big role in all of us attracting newer talent. You can have a lot of fun running heavy equipment or, even mowing grass if you want to. There's plenty of money to be made in this industry. And I think that's something that years past wasn't really taken into account.
Interesting. You mentioned something about finding good talent. It is tough. Not only in your industry, we had that experience too. It's really tough finding people who really want to be here, who want to grow with the company, and kind of also give them that light at the end of the tunnel, making them feel like there's a greater purpose here. And of course, you said our generation. That's a big thing. Is people feel like They want to go to a place where they really enjoy and find themselves passionate about and feel like their purpose is fulfilled in those positions.
Yeah, and I think that's something we try to strive ourselves on as a company. A lot of companies, well, definitely back in the day, it wasn't, oh, we offer these benefits or we have these perks. It was, this is how much you're paid. We're the highest paying company. I think now and in the years going forward, I think that's going to be a thing of the past, because personally, I don't really care how much money I make as long as I enjoy myself. And I think pretty much everyone that works on our team feels the same way. If they don't feel that way, they'll probably leave in a short matter of time, because you're going to have difficult days, you're going to have hardships, you're going to have challenges. But what makes it easier to go through all of those is the people around you and your support team. And that's something I strive myself on, is all of us being like a family and having that support network. Whether it's in a personal situation or a company situation, I like to think that we're all there for one another, regardless of what the situation may be.
Yeah, so I remember you telling me one time you have different forms of keeping the employees incentivized. Like obviously, in order to keep and maintain a good work environment and strong employees, you have to offer certain things. You mentioned earlier like some benefits. Can you explain a little bit about how you keep your guys happy and make sure that they're producing good quality work?
Yeah, so there's a lot of different companies that use different systems. You may have heard of like P for P, which is kind of like a profit shared percentage, or you get paid per production. I personally don't like that idea, and the reason, just me and my market, I don't think it would work personally. And we may try that in the future, I'm not sure, but something that we do that I think is super useful, and I think other companies on all aspects could benefit from, would be incentivizing employees to make sales. Your employees are the first people on a job, and they're one of the last one to leave. They know the ins and outs of the business. They know the industry. They are the best sellers you're going to find. Although they may not have the skill set to go out and just sell a ton of projects, they have the knowledge, and you can always develop another skill set if you have the knowledge. So we incentivize all of our employees with percentages. I don't want to share the percentages or anything like that, but just for sales, you get a percentage of the sale, kind of like a commission basis. We have some hunting land that we're purchasing and stuff, that any employees who hunt. I personally don't hunt, I've never been a big hunter, but I feel like that's something we can offer our employees that they can use and benefit from. Personally, I love the lake. I'm a pretty outdoorsy person, so we take company trips to the lake. This year we took a little company trip out west, Kentucky. It's a pretty long way from any cool mountain views other than eastern Kentucky. So I grew up there, I love it. It's home, but it's not somewhere I would want to go visit on a vacation. So we come out to Colorado, or we'll go down to the beach or something like that for a company trip. A lot of these guys haven't got to travel all the time. And if they have, it's mainly just with their family. So we come out, we get to have fun, do some experiences, make some memories that I feel like go a long way from company aspect.
Wow, for sure. Yeah, those are like some interesting and very awesome incentives, like perks. You get to go a whole nother state as a company trip, bring the family along, and just like have a good time. It's one of those things that it's not really a monetary incentive. I mean, it kind of is, because like they don't have to spend money on that vacation, or they don't have to spend that much money on that vacation, but in the sense that it's not purely like financially driven. So it may work for a lot of salespeople in different industries, having sales targets and then getting a certain amount of bonuses or commissions, but a lot of people from our experience aren't motivated in the same way that salespeople typically are. So, but you're absolutely right about people who know their job, know the tasks that they do on a daily basis. They know it like the back of their hand, because they do it 8+ hours a day, 40 hours a week, 52 weeks a year. So they are very well versed in the industry. So all they have to do is just know how to talk to people, and they can sell it like easy.
Yeah, if you can teach, and it's a challenge, I'm not going to act like it's an easy task at all, but if you can teach someone who's good in the industry and who's good on the ground, like a foreman or a project manager, and you can teach them how to do the selling portion, I mean, it's the opportunities are endless. I don't even know how to describe how well that would go.
For sure. Absolutely. They are very important individuals in the organization. So you add another critical element of the business, and you give them that skill set too. you just exponentially multiplied their the way that they are an asset to the company.
Right, and that's something else I pride myself on, and I think everyone in our company enjoys that, is we're constantly trying to get every employee to learn something new. Most of the time at the end of the week, I'll ask everyone that works with us, I'll say, what'd you learn this week? Or what'd you learn today? And sometimes, they'll be like, oh, nothing. I'll be like, oh, come on, you learned something. But I think it's super beneficial to always keep evolving and keep that learning process moving. And if you don't, I feel like that's when people get bored at any job. The moment that they're doing the same thing over and over again, repetitive, busy work, I think is detrimental to any company's success.
For sure. I think at any point in the job description, even myself, many years ago, even like recently, if I'm doing the same thing every single day for so long and there's no type of feeling that I can do a little bit more, it's gonna start weighing on me. So I think people are naturally inclined to want to continue doing more. In I guess human psychology, we just want to grow, we want to discover ourselves and become self-actualized, so to speak. So their job, a lot of the times where they spend a lot of their time of their life, is where it's a very good opportunity to utilize that, knowing human psychology, and give them that desire for growth, which improves their value to the company and to the society, but also it gives them an opportunity to fulfill that purpose.
Yeah, and I think that's something it's a constant battle. Business isn't easy. If it was easy, everyone would do it, is what I'm always saying. So I think it's always changing, and I think in the years to come, we're going to see a lot more change. I look forward to it.
Yeah, for sure. So as far as innovating, how do you innovate, like bring something new to the industry?
Our industry is super complex. I'll say that. So innovation in our industry a lot of times just comes down to time management. And I think a lot of people drop the ball on that. But when you start a company, when I was with my friends mowing grass, it didn't matter how much time we spent working every day. It didn't matter how much fuel we used. We weren't looking at the numbers. It didn't matter to us. We made $20 and we were happy. Now, if I send two guys out and they waste $5 a day over the span of 35 weeks, 5 days a week, that's a pretty significant chunk of money. So I think efficiency for us really comes down to, one, safety. No amount of savings or no amount of time saved is worth the risk. So we really, really push safety every day. But we also push efficiency, everyone has a set task. Regardless of what crew you're on, we put caution comes out when we park the vehicle on the side of the road, things like that. So we normally have one person who's assigned to that. And we try to move everything seamless, I don't even know how to describe it. It would really be something you have to watch. But on a mowing crew, for example, you have one guy who he mows. So your driver gets out, he's getting stuff unloaded, your passenger will get out, he's setting the cones up, getting, all that stuff done. We fuel all of our equipment the night before. We don't fuel our equipment at a gas station during the day. We try to eliminate stopping at a gas station, period. One, there's a huge liability effect, but two, you also have the time of it. You'll spend 30 minutes at a gas station in no time. Little things like that go a long way. Our fuel usage, trying to build route density and not driving all over town. You have to really be real with yourself and say, okay, yes, this property may pay us $65 a week to mow, but we're spending 2.5 hours to go mow it. It's not a profitable decision. And you have to then, you have to be real with yourself. And I think that's something a lot of companies like service business, they don't. They're not real with themselves and they don't want to admit that. And I've learned that over time. It's easier to just be like, okay. And I'll tell that client, hey, we don't have any other properties over here. It's nothing wrong. You have a beautiful home. I'm going to recommend and I'm going to send, and we have a whole network of people that we work with. And I'll send one of those guys over to maintain their property. Same thing, seamless process. They don't know any different most of the time. I tell them, but other than that, they would never know. The quality of service doesn't change, but we become a more profitable company by admitting that isn't what we need to be doing. And I think that's something a lot of people need to do as far as efficiency goes. There's a lot of different consumer products that we use. QuickBooks definitely helps us with efficiency. We also use Jobber, which in the service industry is a pretty big software program, and it makes everything super easy. Scheduling, sending out emails to clients, invoicing, the routes that we're trying to build that are super dense, all that can be done on Jobber. Super easy, transfers it right over to QuickBooks. My CPA is on the QuickBooks, so very seamless process. Obviously, it comes at a cost, but once again, the time you're saving is worth so much more than the money. And I think that's another shortfall that a lot of people have is like, oh, that's like $250 a month. That's insane. I can't afford that. It's like, well, that $250 that you're spending a month is going to give you back 4 hours of your life. Not only do I value my personal time, but also that 4 hours, if I wanted to go work, I could make much more than $250. So I think that's something that you have to kind of realize in business. I don't know if that plays a role in efficiency, but I feel like it does.
Absolutely. I think as far as efficiency, you nailed it. Like even the 30 minutes here, 30 minutes there, losing it to like, it's going to be work related, and it's going to be something that is considered like, it's busy, but it's not really absolutely productive. When it comes to efficiency, of course, you're right. Safety is the number one priority, always. That's never even a discussion. But then, like when it comes to efficiency, it really takes the right type of mentality and mapping it out in advance. So being able to see it maybe on paper or maybe even just talked about, but mapping it out, making sure that everything is in line. Like in your case, making sure that when you go in a route, you're not driving back and forth and back and forth. So and especially the way you fill up the gas. That's all efficient too, because if you lose that 30 minutes, that's 30 minutes that they couldn't spend on a job, mowing the yard or building something.
Well, and the mowing is definitely the simplest part of our business. And that's, of course, why everyone gets started there. But when you move on into construction, excavating, things with heavy equipment, you have permits, you have to pull. There's a lot of different elements that go into that. And that efficiency can get messed up really quickly if you don't do your pre-work. That's why I call it pre-work. A lot of people call it preparation work. Basically, it's all the work that gets done before you ever actually go do the work. And I think that's where a lot of people drop the ball, and they find that inefficiency is they don't do the pre-work, or they show up like I show up to a job site and say I didn't fill up a piece of equipment. Now I've got an excavator on the job site. Well, I can't drive it to the gas station. Well, now I have to go get 20 gallons of diesel in jugs, and I have to bring it back and I have to fill it up. And that's 45 minutes that is just unproductive. And even though you're working, I think a lot of people, they're like, oh, I work 12 hours a day. Well, were you productive 12 hours? You can work 18 hours a day, but if you're only productive for 4 of them, why does it matter? And I think that goes back to just being real and being upfront with yourself and pretty much everyone that works in the company. I share a lot of knowledge with everyone in the company, from business to finance to just personal knowledge that I've learned throughout life. And I feel like that's something a lot of companies don't do either. Is you don't share that knowledge with your employees. You think, oh, they're just a mowing guy. They just mow grass. It doesn't matter. It does matter. Their growth is essential to the business's growth. So if they're not learning and they're not growing and they're not, enjoying themselves and evolving as a person, then I'm failing them and the company's failing them. And I take that personal, where I don't know if other people do or not, but maybe that's something in the future I could see changing.
Cool. Like I've actually had a very similar experience, and I believe the same thing you believe, that I want everybody that works with me to meet or exceed my capacity. I know that there's probably people who can far surpass me in anything that I do, but they need to feel empowered and encouraged to be able to do so. It's not an ego thing, and I noticed a lot of times in maybe previous employees where they don't want to share something about the job description or like some technique or something. They don't want to share their experience because of insecurity, thinking they might lose their job to somebody else who's coming in after them. And it's very important to us as an organization to make sure that our team knows that that's not a good mindset to have. The right mindset is constantly pass on your knowledge. You should always be teaching somebody else how to do it, and they can learn how to do it and then pass it on and pass it on. And what that does is essentially it creates extra layers. So when they're learning, teaching, and passing it on, they can come to the next level, and they can learn it, teach it, pass it on, and then the organization will continue building from there. that's kind of the right mindset that people should have. And I think you feel the same way. You teach your team to constantly learn more and provide more value to the company, but also to themselves, so they become more valuable.
Yeah, and like I tell everyone, and I think it's kind of funny. And the first few times I said as a joke, but I tell everybody that works with us, I'm like, hey, I would love for you to take my job. I was like, wouldn't hurt my feelings at all. I was like, and my main guy, I told him this is probably 2 or 3 weeks ago. I was like, I can't wait till you take my job. I was like, because then I can go get another job. Um, and he was like, that doesn't make any sense. And I was like, man, if you do the operations side of the business, I was like, I could go out and just work on sales and the business. And I was like, I don't, as a small company, I still handle 99% of our operations. So it would be essential for that to take place. And I think that's really when we would hit that mark of growth that I don't know what it would look like, but I know it would be amazing.
That's scaling at its core. That's
Yeah.
exactly the beauty of scaling, because you're only one person, You're talented, you have a lot of experience, and you have a lot of wisdom, and you're the one man show running the business. But imagine if there's two of you, and imagine if there's four of you, and then six of you. And that's like how we believe it too. I think you mentioned something about your the guy. He's one of your top tier talents, right?
Yeah. So Ethan's pretty much like my right hand man, as they would call it. And he's new to the industry. He hasn't been around the industry long, and he doesn't have a ton of experience. But this year alone, he went from someone that had zero experience. Like when he started, I don't even know if he had a lot of experience pulling trailers or mowing on zero turns and stuff. And now he can operate heavy equipment. He can obviously move any equipment we have, and he's came an extremely long way. And I take that one, he's eager to learn. And anyone that works with me, if they're eager to learn something, I'm not going to let them go home without learning it. I don't care how much time it takes, how much money it costs. If you want to know something, we will teach you. And I think that's something everyone needs to work on in their business. If you have an employee that wants to learn something, whether it's in your industry or another industry, I'll teach them. If I don't know, I 100% will go learn with you right there beside you because I want to know too. Um, and I think that plays a pretty significant role.
I bet that's a game changer for your business to have someone like that. Like if when we find unicorns, or unicorns as they're called, like people who
Yeah.
think like an entrepreneur but are actually working in the business, it's like it's so rare. But you got to take that opportunity and obviously reward that person, because if they're willing to go that extra mile and really take care of the business and have that same, well, almost the same dedication and heart that you have in running your business, then it's just going to pay itself in droves over the course of the coming years and even decades.
Yeah, it definitely would allow us to grow at, well, really a two times rate, having that. So I think that's something this year. I think we're in a really good position to hit that growth that we're wanting to hit and to make our goals, or really maybe even overachieve those goals, because of the people that we're bringing on board in all aspects of the business.
Great. So you obviously have some goals for the business, and what is the growth that you see maybe year over year or percentage wise, or like how does your growth look like?
So this is technically, as far as Blue Jay Enterprises, Blue Jay Outdoor Solutions, this is our first year in business. So our goals were, well, they weren't extremely high. We didn't know what it would look like. Um, and moving forward, now I know kind of where to set my goals. So I was expecting maybe, a lot of first year landscaping companies make $60,000, $80,000, before expenses. So I was expecting maybe 50 to 80. We more than doubled that, uh, which is just insane to think about. And looking back, I couldn't tell you how we doubled it. One, because I didn't have the right systems in place to track that growth. But two, everything just happened so fast. And, here I said a year, the winter after the first season, and we're setting almost at $250,000 our first year, which is insane. Now, of course, our profit margins are nowhere near where they should be. And, there's a ton of challenges that we've worked with and had to overcome. But I think looking into next year, if we can do that in one year, I don't see a reason why we couldn't double that in the upcoming year. And, we found decent people. It took us all year to do that, really, but we found a lot of decent, good talent. And, it's always changing. You're always going to bring in new people, and old people may leave. So it's definitely a challenge. It's not going to end here, but I think that the future is definitely bright.
You bring up an interesting point. You said you didn't have the right systems in place to track the expenses and the income. So it's very, very dangerous situation. I noticed it because we fell in the same situation too, when there's a lot of money coming in, but it's not accounted for correctly. So it looks like there's income coming in, but it's actually going out at just the same rate. Because obviously, when you're bringing in that much revenue, you have to maintain equipment, you have to do all kinds of things that money is constantly being rotated in a cash flow pattern. So can you share a little bit about your experience with the systems that you didn't have and maybe have implemented because of that?
So we didn't have Jobber at all. That's new. So I'm really looking forward to this upcoming year with that system. And I love it so far. I have a lot of friends in the industry that use it. We did have QuickBooks, but I'll be honest, I had no idea how to use it. Over the year, I've learned a lot more on QuickBooks and how to actually use it to benefit us. Thanks to my CPA and other people showing me along the way, a lot of YouTube videos, I've kind of self-educated a lot. But I think a lot of companies, they focus on making a lot of money. And you can make money in any industry, you can make money doing anything. But the thing about business is it doesn't really matter how much money you make, it's how much impact you make. And I think maybe Warren Buffett or Mark Cuban this was in one of their books or articles, but they always said the amount of money you make doesn't matter. It's the amount of people you reach or the impact you make on those people. And I think that's more of what we strive for. We don't set monetary goals normally. A lot of companies do that. It's like, oh, I want to be $1 million company. I think 3% of landscaping companies make it to $1 million. So I may be wrong. It may be less. It may be a little more, but it's a small percentage nevertheless. So I think our thing, setting goals like, hey, let's make sure we have 55 weekly mowing clients. That's not a lot. There's companies that maintain 20 or, like 220 properties a week. I don't want to do that because we focus more on the construction side of things and we're a small company and I have to kind of be very diligent about where I focus our energy. That being said, we have each project, each service that we offer, we set our goals in numbers. Like, okay, we do outdoor lighting, landscape lighting, holiday lighting, things like that. Let's do 40 of those projects this year. We did 15 last year. Let's do 40 this year. Or, let's do this many patios this year. Or we did 10 last year. Let's do 20 this year. And if we do that, we're going to more than double our money, but we're also going to double our production and our efficiency will be better. I've learned when everyone's focused on the dollar, corners get cut, mistakes get made, and safety is always compromised. And it doesn't matter whether it's $1 or whether it's $100,000. It only gets worse as time goes on. So if I can eliminate that thought process early on in the company, I think it will go a very long way in our success and our profitability overall.
Yeah, so I mean, you said the dollar value, focusing on that is not necessarily the right way. I'm not sure who said that either, but I do remember hearing something about that.
Yeah.
It's not about the dollar. It's really not, because we at times have focused on bringing in more revenue, but at what expense? You mentioned corners get cut, and there was a time when we had our salespeople really focused on bringing in a lot of revenue, but unfortunately it came at the expense of the customer experience. So it's very important for us to analyze and audit ourselves and think, okay, why are we having monetary goals? We should be focusing on how much value we can provide. If we provide value, that in itself will return its investment over and over and over again, because the customer is going to come back. We had a metric that really made us appalled. The amount of repeat customers that we have is pretty low, considerably low, considering that we work with primarily businesses, and other businesses have to need marketing material. So if they're not coming back year after year, where did we go wrong? So that's kind of where we're shifting our mindset to really focus on value. Like, what value can we provide to our customers, and the impact? What impact can we have?
Yeah, and I think when it comes to our industry projects as a whole, or the construction side of things, we have our target market. Don't get me wrong, and we obviously love working in a lot of the nice neighborhoods, and that's awesome. But we also love working on homes that are being renovated or homes that just need cleaned up, whether they've just been neglected or whatever. And I think that goes to show a lot as a company. we show up on a house that looks like it should be condemned, and by the time we leave in 3 weeks, it's move-in ready. You could rent it out to a family, and I think that plays a significant role in our success because that's a goal. And we set like, hey, let's find 5 of these houses that look like they should be tore down, and let's change them. Well, in the community, they see that. They see our equipment sitting out there for a week, and they see that impact immediately right in front of their face as their neighbors or whatever. And I think that's a goal a lot of people don't have. They don't say, let's take the challenge houses. Let's take the difficult task and hit them hard, and it will show. So
cool. So obviously that's a huge aspect of it as well. And a little bit earlier you mentioned something about following Mark Cuban and Warren Buffett, but then also learning things on YouTube. Can you share with everybody, even other landscaping people or anybody in business, can you share some of your inspirational sources or how you learn things or how you teach yourself through YouTube?
Yeah, so I'm really, really big on self-education. As I'm trying to remember who quoted it, but there's a quote, I think it's a Rich Dad Poor Dad quote, but it says, formal education will make you a living, self-education will make you a fortune. So I'm big on anything like that. Rich Dad Poor Dad, a lot of books like that I've read, and I truly enjoy those. And I credit my success, my growth to those types of things. As far as YouTube and Instagram and social media, I think it's only as good as you allow it to be. If you're sitting there on Instagram Reels and TikTok and you're just throwing through watching people dance and do what they normally do, you're not benefiting. Is it funny? Sure, absolutely, but you're not benefiting from that. Where you can get on there and watch interviews of Warren Buffett and Mark Cuban and Steve Jobs and Bill Gates and a lot of these guys where you may disagree with their business tactics, you may not know a single thing about their industry, but they have something to offer you. Now, whether it's dealing with people or whether it's finance or whatever it may be, they're older, they've been through a little bit more than you have, and I feel like that's a very discredited thing for a lot of people. They don't see that. And I think watching YouTube videos about how Warren Buffett invests, I think that's a huge key to success. Your business is only as good as you allow it to be. If you are just like, okay, we're going to make yard signs and nothing more. What happens when everything goes digital in 20, 40, 50 years if that happens? Well, then you're done, right? Where it's like, okay, well, I was making yard signs for the past 40 years. I've been taking a portion of my money and investing in all this other stuff. Well, now you've diversified yourself, but you've also allowed yourself a safety net to where if your company doesn't work out, which most small businesses don't, you've also kind of built that safety net. And that's something I learned from guys like Mark Cuban and Warren Buffett. They also have a lot of knowledge about dealing with people, sales, and employees. And I think that goes a long way too. As far as the industry learning on YouTube, you can learn anything about anything on YouTube. I was raised by a single mother, so to sum it up, I didn't know how to tie a tie. So when I went to my first formal event, I had no idea how to tie a tie. My mom doesn't know how to tie a tie. She doesn't wear one, right? So I looked it up on YouTube, taught myself how to tie a tie. And little things like that are huge. Most people would never know that. Most people's dads or grandparents taught them how to tie a tie. But instead of me sitting there being like, well, I just won't wear one because I don't know how. I was like, just YouTube it. It's the same thing in life or in the industry. If you don't know something, just YouTube it. There's someone out there that's made a video. Whether it's good quality or not, I can't tell you. But you will learn something, and it will help you grow as a person in your business and in your personal life if you wanted to.
For sure. Actually, that's kind of the whole reason why we have this video series, is so we can share that type of information with other like-minded individuals. You like following things like that, and you also look up everything on YouTube. I look up everything on YouTube. I don't have experience with most of the things I do on a daily basis. I learn it from what I call my e-mentors, like those popular guys on YouTube. Like Patrick Bet-David, he runs a video series called Valuetainment. He has some incredible and very dense information in his videos. Also, there's articles out there, there's all kinds of things. So I think constantly learning is extremely important. Whether somebody is in business or not in business, the way I see it, it's like it's investing. I'm blessed. My dad instilled it in me in a very young age. He maybe like 4 or 5 years old. He said, he always shared with me the importance of compound interest and the way that compound interest works, not just in finances, but the way the magic of compounding in general, the way it works is if you spend 5 minutes every single day for multiple years, if you spend those 5 minutes improving yourself just a little bit, you don't just get the sum of all those little bits on a day-by-day basis. It actually compounds on itself over time. And if what you in total you spent maybe 1,000 minutes, the actual value that you get from the skill that you learned is more like 10,000 minutes. So it's like a rate of 10x of what you put in. And that's so important, whether it's something as small as tying a tie or as something big like how do you handle an employee who does something that shouldn't have been done at the workplace or anything like that. Like even in the case of graphic design, like learning graphic design or how to maintain your lawn equipment, anything can be found, like you said.
Yeah, a lot of the mechanic side of the industry I didn't know, especially as things constantly evolve. It's only getting worse. And technology is playing a huge role in our equipment now compared to the older equipment. It didn't. So there's a lot of that stuff I look it up. I don't know, but rather than me admitting being like, oh, well, I just don't know, I just won't do it, I'm just like, I'll just learn. There's no harm in that. And that's something I preach to everyone in the company. And we have I'm constantly sending all my guys videos. They probably hate me for it. 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning, I'll be up and I'll just be sending them stuff. The next morning, they'll reply and be like, okay, that was really cool, but why were you doing that at 2:30 in the morning? And I was like, I don't know. What else would I do at 2:30 in the morning? Sleep? Probably not. So I think it plays a role in success, just actually learning from other people. I'm constantly looking at what other companies are doing and to see if I can implement that in my business. If they're evolving, I want to be evolving too. So.
For sure, man. You said something about the unfortunate but interesting situation of COVID causing a very unique, what is it called? Like it disrupted the economy in a very particular way. Just like that, there are chances that in the future, some aspects of some business, whether it's like yard signs, like you were saying earlier, or something may change in the industry. And if somebody is not prepared to kind of shift their course and pivot in a different direction at the drop of a hat, and of course, don't get me wrong, it's very tough to do that. But if one is not prepared to be able to do that, then I think that's where people can fall into a trap. Like the businesses can fall into a pretty big trap if they're not equipped to be able to find out, okay, can't do this anymore. Like in our industry, t-shirt printing, for instance, t-shirt printing industry got hit so hard. There's a lot of people that were had their own t-shirt printing shop but weren't printing anymore because Amazon, they during March, April, and May, I believe those months, they weren't allowing FBA shipments. So you couldn't actually send anything to the fulfillment by Amazon warehouses. So a lot of these mom and pop t-shirt printing companies just kind of went like they had a tough time staying afloat. So it's unfortunate, but I mean there is an opportunity for there are tremendous opportunity. If you find a point in the industry where some need is not being met, that's when you can come in and capitalize on that opportunity, because at the end of the day, the needs in society have to be filled. Somebody has to fill it.
Yeah, and like our industry, I think moving forward, and this is a bold statement, and I'm sure I may get some hate from some other landscapers if y'all are watching this, but I think our industry will eventually go electric. There's a lot of condos, a lot of commercial properties that are already pushing it in their contracts to where you can't use leaf blowers that are gas powered. There's a lot of cities that have already banned it in states like California, which we all know that they're the first to do things like that. But I do think it will happen. Right now, it's not feasible for electric, like lawnmowers, commercial zero turns. Right now, electric ones cost $20,000 a piece. Gas ones cost 10 to 12. Just you're paying double. I think in the future it will happen. And I think when that happens, a lot of people will be forced out of the mowing business because they won't be able to afford the startup cost. You used to be able to buy an old push mower for $500 and go out and just mow grass with it. I don't think you'll be able to do that when the electric plays a role in it. I think it's going to really change the industry as a whole. We already have some electric equipment that we use. I love it personally. Most of our guys love it. It's easier to use. But I think the batteries need work, just like Tesla. It's every year it's going to make improvements, and I could definitely, in my lifetime, I can see a electric landscaping company in the future.
Absolutely. I personally, at my residence, I have an electric lawnmower. Obviously, this is residential equipment. It's not commercial equipment
Right.
by any means. I have a Ryobi lawnmower at home. The battery life sucks. I can't even finish both front yard and backyard without recharging. Then I have an electric weed eater, and then I also have an electric leaf blower. So all of
Yep.
this equipment, it's not necessarily that I went out of my way to buy electric. It just so happened that the deal they were offering on electric, it was so good. So
Yeah.
the industry in general, like even on the residential side, it's shifting towards electric. You just have to be able to see it in the future, see it for what it is. That's where it's going. So I hope people don't give you hate for it, because I mean, just looking at it from a linear perspective, that's where
Mhm.
it's going. It's heading there. So I think it's just people need to prepare for that. Maybe not yet. Maybe it won't be overnight, and that thing won't happen overnight. But in the foreseeable future, maybe 10, 15 years, as gas starts to get phased out by innovative companies like Tesla, like
Mhm.
that's a pretty big thing. It may start
I
with cars.
100% would buy a Tesla truck if it would tow stuff. I tell people all the time, they're like, "What's your dream vehicle?" I was like, if I did not have to pull trailers and actually tow equipment, I would have a Tesla. And there's all like, "Oh, you going to run a landscaping company from a Tesla?" Absolutely, I would. Like, no doubt about it. And I wouldn't have to drive either. So then I would be able to actually do more. I'd be more productive because I wouldn't even have to drive a car. Perfect.
Yeah, you're sitting in there filling out the contracts or whatever, and
Yeah,
like making
I can
calls.
send invoices. I can do all kinds of crazy stuff while going to the job site. My Silverado doesn't do that. It's
Hmm.
nice, but it doesn't do that.
That's innovation, man. At the end of the day, like that's what's absolutely required. No matter what industry anybody's in, we have to innovate. We have to constantly stay ahead of the curve, and especially with behemoth companies like Amazon and Tesla providing insanely good value to their customers. I shop on Amazon knowing that the price is a little bit higher than I would get somewhere else, knowing full well, but the convenience of not having to go to the store and being able to just get it in a day or two, like it blows everything out of the water. Like I can wait maybe a day to get this novelty item, or maybe this kit, maybe shaving kit that I don't necessarily need right then on the spot. So those companies are introducing a new level of convenience and value. It's forcing other
Yeah,
companies to keep up. Like Amazon changed the game, but they're not doing anything 100% new. They're just a retail store. They are
yeah.
retailing.
No, I mean, they didn't change the wheel. That's another thing that I learned. And I read a lot of business books. I think Gary Vee, whether you agree with a lot of his tactics, there's a lot of those guys that they're hit and miss. You don't want to take everything they say, but you got to pick and choose. Um, but they like you don't have to reinvent the wheel. Just use the wheel in your own world. And I was like, I thought about that. And I was like, well, how could I do that? And that's why I've kind of scaled the company and then build it the way I want to build it. Is I think that we don't need to reinvent anything. We just need to make it more simple. And simplifying it will in turn make us more successful.
For sure. Would you say that's one of your biggest takeaways to other landscaping businesses or outdoor businesses, or what would you say a huge takeaway would be if you have something to offer to them?
For anyone in the service industry as a whole, I would say definitely focus on your numbers. I feel like that's a big neglected thing. Know your numbers and be real with yourself and admit when you're not making money. Everyone's numbers are different. Everyone's overhead is going to be different. Do it the right way the first time. Make sure you have the right equipment, the right stuff, and you'll be successful. Whether it's just you or whether it's 3 or 4 people, if you focus on your numbers and you know the reality behind it, you're true to yourself, and I think you'll do great. Be good to your clients and be good to your employees, and they'll stick around for a long time. Whether things go south or whether it's always uphill, which I've never seen a company that there's never a bad day. But if your clients and your employees know your intentions and you have a good relationship with them, even on those bad days, they will understand and they'll be a little bit more lenient toward you. You're going to have equipment breakdowns. You're going to have a lot of factors that may put you behind schedule or that may impact even your clients at times. But if you're upfront and honest with them, they're going to return the favor for you. So.
Really good advice. So, is there anything else you would like to share with anybody watching about business or anything in general?
Not really. I really appreciate the opportunity. I hope that if you did watch this, I hope you learned something valuable. If any of you want to reach out and talk to me or connect or anything like that, I always love meeting new people. I feel like your network is your net worth, as a lot of people say. So If you want to follow us on Instagram, Facebook, it's Blue Jay Outdoor Solutions or Blue Jay Enterprises, Blue Jay Entertainment, all that stuff. We're on all the social medias now, I guess. So other than TikTok, I'm not a big TikToker, but it's whatever. Feel free to hit us up if you have any questions or anything you'd like me to answer. Or just hang out. I'd love that.
Yeah, awesome, Blake. I really appreciate you being on this. You've shared a lot of valuable information, and I think a lot of people can get a lot of takeaways from what you've said. It's like very dense information that you have in your experience. So I really wish the best for your success on Blue Jay Enterprises. I'll put your link, all the links in the description on this YouTube video, and I'll also share it with everybody else in our network, our customers, and then hopefully other landscaping companies and outdoor service industries can take advantage of getting value from these type of videos. And aside from that, that's it from me. So thanks for watching.
Cool. I'm gonna order my pressure washing yard signs now. So
cool. Awesome. All right.
Have a good day.
Take care. Thank you.
Guys.
Bye.